Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. This pick is going to be free, okay, for the UFC fight card. We do have a fight night on Saturday. Yes, I know the NFL draft is going on for the next 3 days. I'll be making a ton of content for the draft. I'll be live streaming every single night. But today and tomorrow, I'll be pumping out UFC videos for every single fight, making my picks, and I already know how you guys feel. If you're an MVP and you bet on these fights, you said, Rico, we're not betting on any more women. So we start the card off, Ivana Petrovic versus Liang. This is the most underwhelming opening fight I've ever seen in my life. Let me say something. If you go check ESPN, their fight center doesn't have this as the opening fight. But if you check the sports book, it does. So I'm going with the sports book. I think they're more accurate as far as time starts, and ESPN just has the wrong order. So let's go with this as the first fight of the night. If it's not the first fight of the night, well, then you got to pick later on in the card. So we'll talk about it first. I'll start with Ivana Petrovic. They tell me she had 30 amateur fights as a kickboxer. Okay, nobody's talking about this online because all those cappers and those people who pick fights, they don't actually know the fighters. Like, that's just real. They just look at the matchup, and then they go look at their last fight, and they go, oh, that's a grappler. For whatever reason, she fought as a grappler. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. She is a kickboxer, but she goes out there and grapples. Now, if you go look at her career, she joined the UFC, undefeated 6-0. Her husband's her coach, bro. And I think that's a problem sometimes. Your husband's your coach. I don't want to know how you met. I don't know how much you were focused on what you were doing. But when you saw her winning her fights by TKO initially on the regional scene, fighting nobodies, they're all 0-1. They never fought again in their life. Okay. And then this fight here is impressive. The Marta win, she goes 6-6. Well, Marta's 6-6, I'm saying. She's a 500 fighter. She's got 12 fights under her belt. But speaking of belts, you see these two belt fights? Those are not good fighters. Those are not girls who've ever fought before. I don't know how they got belt fights, but they both got rear naked choked. And it's like you become a kickboxer, or you are a kickboxer. You've been working on your grappling. You close the distance. You get a clinch. You got a double underhooks. You get a takedown. And you start falling in love with this thing where you think, oh, I can get a rear naked choke. I can tap somebody out. I can submit somebody. So she did it twice, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to her. Because when she gets to the UFC, that opening fight against Luana Carolina, she actually thought she could go in there and grapple with her, take her down, and do something with it, and it was just bad. I thought it was poorly executed. I thought it was a terrible decision. Never mind the fact she was a minus 190 favorite and lost a lot of people money, I'm sure. But when you look at it, right, from my perspective, I thought it was a coaching error and not necessarily that she was a worse fighter. I think she's still a good fighter. And now when you look at the card, she's a huge favorite. We're talking a minus 500 favorite, and that's so scary to bet on because that means you have to parlay it with other things or try to identify how it's going to win, like how it's going to end, right? Method. And betting on method in MMA is probably the most foolish bet in the world if you don't know what you're doing. Right now, all it has is money line. There are no other wagers. You hit more wagers, you get nothing. It's just the money line. So yes, I'm on the favorite in this fight. Liang, this Chinese girl. She just moved up a weight class. She used to fight at 115. Now she moved up to 125. Let me say something to you guys. When you get to the UFC and you get knocked out 3 fights in a row and you're still getting fights, it's just an agenda to push Chinese fandom. This girl doesn't belong in the UFC. Now, let me say this. If you go look, she was getting all these submissions by rear naked choke and armbar. Okay, she's a wrestler. And when you see her fight, she's always threatening the armbar. But I've never seen somebody so physically weak. Like, she literally doesn't lift weights. She can't. She can't hold positions. She can't hold you down. She can't do anything. Physically weak. She will even be in the right position to win the fight, and you could just get up. Like, you could just stand up. If you have ESPN Plus, I'd encourage you to go watch JJ Aldrich. Not these other fights here. She got knocked the hell out. Silviana, oh my God, she's so beautiful. But anyways, Juarez knocks her out with a one punch. Straight up. When's the last time you saw a UFC 125-pounder, 115-pounder get knocked out with one punch in the women's division? Nobody's got knockout power. That's like seeing two 12-year-olds fight and the kid gets knocked out by the other 12-year-old when they weigh the same amount. I can see a knockout when somebody's 180 versus 120. But if you're both 115, who's knocking who out? With one punch? Nah. And she has no chin. She has no head movement. She's a terrible striker. She looks like she'd be a decent striker because she has long extremities. Well, guess what? She's the shorter fighter in this fight. Okay? She's not even there. Ivana's 5'8", 5'9", something like that. 5'8". I'm telling you, Liang, if you see her against J.J. Aldrich, the only takedowns she gets are like these headlock takedowns. It's judo with a mix of wrestling, I guess. She'll get this headlock takedown, like this big brother takedown. Like she'll just take you down. You can't reach the head of somebody taller than you. You're not doing no headlock takedown. And even if she does it, she loses the position because she's not strong enough to hold it. She takes you down. You're just like, oh, man, get this girl off me. Hold on. And you can literally just stand up. If I wouldn't get copyright blocked, I would show you what happens in those fights, but I'm putting this on YouTube for free, so you don't want to get copyright blocked. All I'm saying is I don't see how Liang Na wins this fight outside of an armbar, but I do think she probably gets rear naked choked or knocked out. I don't know if it goes the distance. I think Ivana Petrovic wants to win this fight and be impressive, and hopefully she has a better game plan and her coach doesn't F her in real life. Her husband. I think that she's a good kickboxer, good striker, and you can win that. You can win with that. You don't need to do it, but they're going to get in a grappling match. It's going to be boring. It's going to be us pulling our hair out again and saying, I don't bet on women fights. So you can avoid it. And for those of you who watch the videos, thank you for watching. Everybody else who just blind picks and tails everything, they're going to go ahead and throw this in their parlay. And I'm going to tell you, I got Ivana winning the fight. Minus 530 is a lot, y'all. That's a lot. I just want you to know, if you were to sprinkle that plus 360 on the underdog because she could potentially get an armbar because she's a little crafty, if you sprinkle that, I wouldn't be mad at you. But either avoid the whole fight completely, maybe parlay it with one other thing, but I wouldn't. I mean, minus 530, it wouldn't be on any of my parlays. We'll see if I put it on any parlays at the end of the card. You guys know the deal. I break down every single fight and add more to the chart for MVPs who see it free. You're not going to see any of the parlays and props. That's for the MVPs. But just so you guys know, we break down every fight. We break down every matchup. I can talk to you about everything they're doing. Please, become an MVP. Win yourself some money this weekend. Oh, by the way, we do have bets on the NFL draft. Become an MVP. You can see all the prop bets for tonight. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.